Alright, hey guys. This video is going to be kind of a practice video to help you work on kind of two topics that go well together, and that's inequality and absolute value equations. And what I'd like you to do for this video is it's kind of a practice round for the unit we're in. I'm going to put a problem up on the screen, and what would be really great is if you would pause the video and write it down and try to solve it yourself first. This is kind of a great way to prepare for like a test. So pause the video, try the problem, and then unpause the video and see if you got it correct and see if you can find where your mistakes were. Now, if you can kind of cruise through these four problems I'm going to give you and you're able to kind of do each one and check your answer and get them correct, then you know that you kind of have this topic down and that you have a good understanding. So here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you the first problem here, problem A, and it says solve for x. And the equation is 4 parentheses x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 2x minus 12. And what I want you to do is pause the video, solve it, and then check your answer. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm hoping you're unpausing the video now and you're ready to see if you did it correctly. So here are the correct steps. I'm going to put a line down the inequality symbol here. First thing I'm going to do is distributive property. I'm going to multiply this 4n as my beginning step. And 4 times x is 4x, 4 times 2 is 8, and it's a subtraction problem, so subtract 8. And then I'm going to copy the greater than or equal to sign and the 2x minus 12. From there, I'm going to make a choice to either get the x's together or the numbers together. I think I'll flip the 8 over and make it a positive 8, just to get it out of the way. So 4x is greater than or equal to 2x, and a negative 12 plus 8 is now a negative 4. Then I'm going to flip the 2x over and subtract it. 4 minus 2 is 2x, and that's greater than or equal to what's left over here, which if the 2x is gone, we still have a minus 4, a negative 4. And so my very final step is just to divide by 2 on both sides, and I get x is greater than or equal to 4 divided by 2 is 2, negative divided by a positive is a negative. So I get this as my solution. X is greater than or equal to negative 2. And if you got that, then that's awesome. Be sure you don't accidentally put an equal sign at the bottom. Make sure you're using the inequality. And on top of that, remember what that inequality represents. That means the answer for x is anything greater than or equal to negative 2. And so we need to show on a number line what that means. Showing on a number line is a visual way of representing this answer. So the next step after you get that answer is to draw a number line. And it doesn't have to be like super nice. Put 0 somewhere in the middle. And we want to go to negative 2. That's our boundary point. So here's negative 2. I'm going to put some other numbers on here too to make it nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. A couple numbers on there. Here's what we're going to do. If negative 2 is our solution, right here, that's our boundary. And if x is anything greater than negative 2, x is all these numbers to the right. These are the greater than numbers. So and that's going to go on forever and ever. I'm going to draw a big arrow down here to represent that. Anything greater than negative 2. But it's also, if you pay very close attention, it can also be equal to negative 2. So right where I circled the boundary point, I'm going to fill that in with a solid point because it's equal. And then there's my solution. All right, so let's try another one of these. That was kind of a nice little warm-up to what we're going to be doing in this video. So for the next one, problem B, we're going to solve for W. And the inequality is negative 4, parentheses W plus 3 is less than 2W plus 6. Please pause the video and see if you can get it right by yourself first. Okay, so you're unpausing the video now, hopefully, and you're checking your answer to see if you got it correct. So I'm going to put a line down the middle. Again, this is another distributive property problem where you're going to multiply the negative 4 in. Now, negative 4 times w is negative 4w, plus negative 4 times 3 is a negative 12, and it's all less than 2w plus 6. I'm going to flip the negative 12 over, turn it into a positive 12. Negative 4w is less than 2w plus 6 and 12 make 18. I'm going to get my w's together by flipping the 2w over, making a negative 2w, so that I have 4 and 2 make negative 6w is less than, what's left over here is an 18. And then we have our final step here, and this is kind of an interesting thing we've talked about in class. We're going to divide by a -6. And there's this interesting rule. When you divide by a negative, it flips the inequality symbol. It changes its direction. And that's only when you're dividing by a negative. So it's this number down here that's making that happen. Dividing by a negative. It just flips that symbol around. And so what we're going to get is we're going to have W is now greater than 18 divided by 6. Well, that's a 3, and it'd be a -3. And that is our solution. And truly, the reason for that, if you're like, why do I have to flip that symbol? That just seems like arbitrary and weird. Think about it like this. If I had -6W is less than 18 again, if I went back up to this step and rewrote it. Another way we know how to solve these problems is if we don't like a negative symbol, we know if we flip it to the other side, it turns into a +6W. And if we flip this to the other side, it'd be a -18. And we would have -18 and 6W. And we would still have this inequality that looks like a less than symbol. And then when we divide by 6, we'd get -3 is less than W. And do you notice how this answer and this answer match up and are identical? They're just flipped around, but they're actually the same thing. W is still greater than -3. So that's kind of the reason. But you can solve this way if you want, or you can just remember flip the symbol when you divide by a negative. Okay, so long story short, let's get down to the number line. So on our number line, here's 0. -3, 1, 2, 3 is out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put some other numbers on here if I want. And we know that the boundary needs to be circled. So if -3 is our solution, W is all the greater than values. That would be the values going to the right. These are all the numbers greater than. Just keep on going. But there's no equal sign. So we're going to leave that as an empty hole with no equal sign. That's got to stay empty because it can't actually equal -3. It's just all the values greater than. Okay, so let's try another one. We're kind of going through some practice rounds here. Problem C, solve for x. So I changed it up on this one, and it's 9 minus the absolute value of 2 minus 1/3 x equals 0. Will you pause the video and see if you know how to do this one without help? Okay, so you're unpausing the video, and we're going to go through the solution here. And normally I put a line down the middle and I just want to get solving right away. With the absolute value, it's a little bit trickier. Remember, inside this absolute value, whatever's in there, whether it be a negative number or a positive number, like if it was -3, the absolute value is still a +3. And if it was a +3, the absolute value is a +3. So we actually have two possible answers, a positive and a negative number that can be inside the absolute value. But this 9 on the outside is kind of our problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 9 and move it over, make it a -9. So I have a negative absolute value 2 minus 1/3 x equals a -9. And then what I'm also going to do is I don't really like that I have a -9 and a negative absolute value. So I'm going to flip-flop them. So here's my line down the middle. I'm going to switch the absolute value to this side, 2 minus 1/3 x. I'm going to switch the 9 to this side, so it's a +9. So I get it down to this step. And then now I know that my absolute value has two possible answers. Inside here I can have 9, because the absolute value of 9 is 9, or I could have -9. So I'm going to split this up and say, you know what? There are two possible answers. Either I'm going to get +9 or a -9 inside my absolute value. So 2 minus 1/3 x can equal 9, or 2 minus 1/3 x could equal -9. Those are my two possible values. So now I have two equations to solve. Both will be pretty simple. I'll flip the 2 over, make it a -2. -1/3 x equals 9 minus 2 is 7. I'm going to multiply the 3 up times the 3 up. -1x equals 7 times 3 is 21. And then -1x is really just a -x equals 21. So I'm going to flip this, make it a +x, flip this, make it a -21, and -21 equals x. On the other side, I'm going to do the same steps, subtract the 2, -1/3 x equals a -9 minus 2, oh that's -11. Multiply the 3 up, -1x equals -11 times 3 is -33. This is really just -x equals -33 when you think about it. So I'm going to flip-flop those, make that a positive 33, make that a positive x equals 33, and I now have two answers, two solutions, and I'm done. Now, if I wanted to get like an advanced score on this, I wanted to be at a level 4, or I just wanted to double check myself, I have two answers. I would have to go all the way back up to the top up here to plug in and check. I would have to check negative 21, see if it equals 0, should, and I would have to check 33 and see if it equals 0. So two checks would be necessary, and there's two solutions here. Okay, so one more for the video. Let's see, we're kind of building up a little harder and a little harder. Can you do problem D here? Can you solve for K? And the inequality is 2 absolute value, K minus 17 is less than or equal to 10. Why don't you pause the video, see if you can do this one. Okay, so you're unpausing the video, I hope, and you're ready to check your answer, and you're thinking line down the middle, solve. It's another absolute value, so you know that inside here that there's two possible answers, a positive and a negative answer. But there's a 2 on the outside that we need to deal with first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that 2 away from that side so that I get the absolute value of K minus 17 is less than or equal to 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Once we've gotten it to here, the next step is to split it up and say, you know what, inside of here, it's got to equal 5. So either a positive 5 or a negative 5 is going to work. So over here I'm going to solve for what if it's a positive 5. And over here I'm going to solve what if it's a negative 5. And what I'm going to do is just write K minus 17 equals a positive 5. And K minus 17 equals a negative 5. Although I gotta say, there's a little bit of a catch here. We have to be kind of careful. I'm forgetting one thing, and that is, it's not really an equal sign. It's an inequality. So because it's an inequality, what I'm gonna have to do is this less than symbol would carry through with it. Like we would have less than or equal to, less than or equal to. And because this is the negative number, this is one of these situations where we have to flip the symbol. And we talk a lot in class about why we do this. It's kind of a weird scenario here. So what's going to happen is we're going to have K minus 17 is less than or equal to positive 5, and we're going to solve. And we're going to have K minus 17 is actually greater than or equal to negative 5, and we're going to solve. And both of these, think about it, we'll flip the 17 over and add it. K is less than or equal to 5 plus 17 is 22. Okay. Or flip the 17 over and add it. K is greater than or equal to negative 5 plus 17 is 12. And those are our two solutions. But because it's a greater than less than problem, what we're kind of looking at here is we're looking at a number line problem where we need to show this on a number line. Like, what does that mean? So here's my number line. Here's 0 in the middle. I need to go to 12 and 22. That's going to be way out here. So let's picture, going all the way out to 12, and then going all the way out to 22. I'll make kind of a sloppy number line here. And we know that K, these are the boundaries, that K is greater than or equal to 12. So K is greater than 12. K is going this direction, greater than 12. But K is also less than or equal to 22, so it's less than 22. And so it falls into this middle ground. I kind of call it like a sandwich problem. K is sandwiched in between here. It's anything greater than 12 and less than 22. Or there are equal signs, or equal. So I'm going to fill this in solid. And I'm going to say my solution is anything in between here. Anything between 12 and 22. And another way you could write this final answer, instead of writing it like two answers, is you could say 12, K is in between 12 and 22. It's greater than or equal to 12, it's less than or equal to 22. And you could write your final answer as an inequality like this. And that's what it looks like on a number line. Maybe not so messy. I made mine a little messy, but that's kind of the idea. Okay, so that's kind of our review for solving inequalities and absolute values. If you were really good with those 4 problems, then you're probably ready for the chapter test that we're going to have on this eventually. Hope that helps.